Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. It honestly sounds crazy to say this considering we're still so early on into the actual year of Call of Duty right now. Like, we're not even to season 2 yet for BO6 and Warzone, but it kind of seems like Call of Duty is in an urgent state. Like, they're almost running out of time already, a situation that we really haven't been in before this early on into the year. Typically, as we get into the summer, the early fall, you know, a lot of the COD hype for the year has died down a bit. You're still getting new seasonal updates, new content there, but it's not like numbers are going through the roof, at least in most situations, right? This year, though, it's happening earlier than ever because of all of the obvious issues going on with Black Ops 6 and Warzone so far, particularly post season 1 reloaded. Headed into season 1, Black Ops 6 was honestly trending upwards pretty nicely, had a great spike in player count, seemed like it was generally well received, but then season 1 derailed things, as we've talked about a bunch of times over the past month or so, right? And recently, new clips surfaced from one of the most prominent names in Call of Duty talking about the state of Call of Duty, and I wanted to sort of give my thoughts on this and talk a bit about why Call of Duty seems to be already running out of time, and if this is perhaps a trend that we've seen before. As always, when it comes to trying to criticize Call of Duty, I always want to offer solutions. I want to offer a positive change there and ideally have that positive impact on the game, right? But Charlie Intel ended up posting this the other day, a clip from Scump. Scump being one of the, like I said, most prominent names in the Call of Duty scene, one of the faces of Call of Duty, if you will, and it's been that way for a long time. General quote from this is, "I don't think Call of Duty has ever been in a worse spot than it is in right now." It's kind of depressing, to be honest. And so this is about a minute and a half long clip. Wanted to go through, watch this, react to it a bit, and then, like I said, add on to what Scump is saying here, maybe sort of contextualize it a little bit as well. And so here's what Scump has to say here.
Bad spot right now, dude. I don't think Call of Duty has ever been in a worse spot than it is right now.
Which is crazy to say, considering we had Modern Warfare 2022, which had all the hype in the world, maybe the most hyped Call of Duty of all time, and obviously that just wasn't well received. It dropped off a ton in player count very quickly, almost as quickly as Black Ops 6. Like, these two games, somehow the most developed games that we've had in years, each struggled so much right as they launched, which is just crazy to think about. Another insane example of Vanguard existed, COD World War II existed, CODs that weren't really huge successes by any means. Infinite Warfare existed, which is one of the most disliked videos on all of YouTube as one of like the main trailers, right? Like, Call of Duty has been in bad spots before, even recently. So to say that it's maybe in the worst spot ever right now is pretty wild, and it's even crazier that that honestly is a statement you could back up with a handful of examples, right? Like, it's not a completely outlandish clickbait statement by any means. It's accurate to a certain extent.
It's kind of depressing, to be honest. I was already
And it is, unfortunately, like I've said this before in videos, I don't love being overly negative in my content. I've never been like that. I do, however, always want to report on the news, want to take an objective stance on things, want to analyze things as openly as I can. And so when you log on every day and you're reading these articles, you're looking at the game updates, and most of them just aren't addressing these significant issues, or they're avoiding the problem, or something else obnoxious is going on, unfortunately, that just trends towards, well, unfortunately, today's not good news. And there's just been a lot of that over the past few weeks.
Like, them releasing rank so early. And
another thing I want to talk about.
And then we had like a month break from the CDL. So I was already a little bit concerned about all of that.
Schedule is all like, weird.
Okay, they make us wait for, you know, they make us chase that carrot.
Which is right, because the main focus, the main takeaway I want to take away from this clip is that for whatever reason, Call of Duty expedited things this year. We saw a lot of way earlier updates than we typically see. And now we're seeing them backfire, because we're in this lull, we're in this dry period where nothing is happening and so many issues have not been addressed, and we're just waiting and waiting and waiting. Whereas in years past, the game launches, and then that launch month and a half is just, hey, all the focus is on the new game. Nothing else is really there. Level up your new guns, try out the new maps, learn the new game, and then in a little bit, we'll have the new season drop, and that'll include the Warzone integration, and that'll include new weapons and this and that. But this year was, hey, the game dropped, and 3 weeks later, oh, hey, here's everything else right away. Like, you're probably still getting used to Omni movement. You're still probably getting used to the general Black Ops 6 gameplay, and already there's so much being thrown at you. Ranked play is already dropping. Warzone integration's already dropping. All of it was happening so early.
For like 2 months into the game's release.
Like I just said.
They dropped it so early, and then they dropped it, and it was so bad.
Which is
because of all the
the main issue.
Ranked.
They dropped it early, and it didn't seem like it was ready to be dropped early. This applies to the Warzone integration heavily, right? Which is, I think JGod talked about this in one of his videos the other day, sort of talking about the state of COD, right? He mentioned that they dropped it so early, which would give you the impression of, hey, it's ready. There's been some good development time on this. They're confident in it, but also they didn't hardly market the Warzone integration. There was so little hype going into it. Like we all talked about, hey, from COD Next, we saw this being played. There's a lot of potential. The gameplay changes they detailed, there's a lot of potential, but they didn't really market it like they have in the past. Maybe they're saving it all for Verdansk, who knows? But they dropped it so early, which would give you the impression that, hey, it's coming out earlier than ever. Well, then it must be ready to go. It must be, you know, very confident in its ability to hold players and be a solid product. That just wasn't the case at all. And then with ranked play, they drop it earlier than ever. They had all this hype behind it saying, hey, we're going to give you access to ranks in COD earlier than ever before. You're going to get your hands on it right away. And then it dropped, and day one, hackers are everywhere. So bad to the point where Call of Duty had to come out with a statement and say, hey, yeah, we missed the mark bad on Ricochet with the launch of ranked and everything going on. So they have all this hype. We're going to give you guys more than ever, earlier than ever. And it all fell apart.
Play itself isn't bad. Okay, rank play itself is fine.
I would agree with.
The system is fine. I think
the core game of Black Ops 6 is pretty good.
I don't think there's any problems with it. The problem is the cheaters. I don't know.
Yeah.
They just
and the servers.
Again, we're not
which is the problem. The core game here, I think, is good. And I've said this before. I think Black Ops 6 is solid. I think Warzone as a general integration this year has a ton of potential. However, a lot of the executive decisions, I guess you could say here, are overshadowing and overwhelming any good that stems from this because of the insane cheating issues that plague ranked and pubs and multiplayer and Warzone alike. They're everywhere. It's a virus that's spreading right now, and it's everywhere in the game. And there's been little to no recognition outside of the fact that, oh, it's coming in season 2. That's weeks away. You just have to wait and wait and wait. Hence why there's more of this urgency and this urgent feeling and this sense of, man, Call of Duty is just like kind of running out of time, right? Then you have the server issues where the game, it keeps getting upgraded every year on top of this engine. Everything is changing, Omni movement, this, that, whatever else. Servers never get upgraded. They never get adjusted to fit what the game needs. And instead, there's terrible hit reg, there's terrible desync, lag, packet burst, all this consistently takes away from the core game. The two biggest priorities this year have been pushed to the side in favor of microtransactions and new bundles that always get posted about, and there's very little recognition on anything else. Now, the rest of his clip is essentially just talking about how he wants to also focus on some other content like Marvel Rivals and other games, not too relevant to the topic at hand here, but like I said, I did want to contextualize this sense of urgency a little bit more. So funny enough, I actually made this graphic for a video I posted on my second channel a while back, talking about how Call of Duty was doing things earlier than ever, and I thought that was interesting. So I went back and I looked at all of the season 1 and then also the reloaded updates for COD in the new era, right? Dating back to Cold War when we first started to see a lot of these things. And you can see the trends here are, I think, pretty interesting. Back in Black Ops Cold War, we had season 1 drop in mid-December, and then season 1 reloaded wasn't until around this time right now, mid-January. Back in Vanguard, Season 1 dropped early December, early to mid-December. Season 1 Reloaded dropped mid-January. And then Modern Warfare 2, the full new era of Call of Duty, changed things up, and it dropped things super, super early. Season 1 on November 16th, then Season 1 Reloaded on December 14th, just before the holiday break. Obviously, Modern Warfare 2, as I alluded to earlier, struggled with a lot of the same issues that Black Ops 6 has right now. So much hype going into it, and then it just fumbles it, right? So many players were not a fan of Modern Warfare 2, and it saw a significant fall off in the overall player base very quickly, just like Black Ops 6 is seeing now. Very early drop of Season 1 and Season 1 Reloaded, but it wasn't like these weren't ready. They were just insanely underwhelming. There wasn't anything going on in the first season of the game, and it's crazy to look back at the roadmaps and say, wow, that's what we got. That's all there was. Then same deal with like Reloaded as well. Then Modern Warfare 3 kind of got back to the usual trend, early to mid-December for Season 1, and then mid-January for Season 1 Reloaded. And then we get Black Ops 6, which is earlier than everything here. The earliest launch of Season 1 by a couple of days, and the earliest launch of Season 1 Reloaded by about a week and a half, right? So just looking at this simple chart here, or this graph here, there is one correlation. The two games that have had the biggest fumbles in player base with the most expectations both launched things earlier than ever, and then they saw chaos unfold and the game plummet, right? Could that be a correlation or a connection there? Maybe, but also it's different circumstances here. Modern Warfare 2 kind of had it because the game just wasn't well received. Black Ops 6 as a core game was well received, but the main executive components are overshadowing everything to the point where it just makes the game feel terrible. Two different situations, two different issues, but both with the same result. But then we're in this waiting period right now where season 2 is not till the end of January, and we're sitting here going, why exactly did this drop so early? Because clearly we're under this impression now where it's like, this stuff wasn't ready. Season 1 was not ready. The Warzone integration was not ready. That's evident by all the issues that have risen in the game since the Season 1 update happened that derailed everything. Season 1 Reloaded dropped earlier in December, right? Again, broke a lot of things. Ranked play, clearly not in the state it needs to be in Warzone when that was like the main update for the Reloaded patch, right? Cheaters, not under control, yet they still chose to drop it and still choose to, put out all these updates without focusing on a large issue beforehand. Had they pushed this stuff back, maybe it had a bit more fine tuning, maybe it had a few more, weeks to actually be fully prepared to launch. We're not in the same situation. And on top of that, we're now not in this situation where it's like we haven't had a major update in weeks and we still have almost an entire month to go until something actually major is going to happen with season 2. At that point, we just have to hope that season 2 is appropriately going to attack these issues and address these problems, right? Well, yes, I get the decision because it's appealing to say, hey, we have everything dropping earlier than ever. All the major updates are coming to you sooner in the year than we've ever done them before. That gets you excited. It got me excited. However, they got to follow through with those updates and they have to be good updates. And unfortunately, in this situation, it just wasn't. And so they backfire. And now we're in this trend of, well, this is the longest season we've had in some time. And we're all just waiting to get out of it in hopes that season 2 brings in some actual drastic change. So it does create that sense of urgency. We need these updates now. We really need them ASAP, but they're weeks out. Hopefully something's going to change in these weeks that we're waiting, and they do, proactively go out and address servers and cheaters and all these other things, and especially the gameplay issues that season 1 implemented. But did think it was an interesting topic of, yeah, we had all these things, we had all this hype, and especially with the marketing of earlier than ever on so much of this stuff, it made it seem like it was going to be much more prepared and much more ready. And then it just kind of fell through and missed the mark entirely. So that said, it's going to wrap things up, obviously, in the coming days and weeks as we do see new announcements and updates and things get revealed and whatnot. I'll be keeping you guys in the loop for everything going on in COD. So feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. And if you enjoyed this video, a like rating would be seriously appreciated as well. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.